Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. I don't know when you choose to watch these videos, so I'm just going to try and hit all the bases. Welcome to Finite Math. Welcome to MGF 1106. Hopefully by now you know who I am and that you're supposed to be here watching this video, and wherever you happen to be right now. This being a virtual class makes things a little bit funky, but hey, we'll make it work. That's our job this semester. So here we're going to move on and start at the very beginning. It's nice when books and semesters actually match up in that way. Getting going with section 1.1 and 1.2. So the first video you're going to see every week from me in here is something like this, where I just talk about very broadly what we can expect. So I have a little table of contents for the week. Over here we're going to talk about topics. Over here I'm going to have some information about deadlines. So for 1.1, what we're talking about here is the idea of inductive and deductive reasoning. Basically, things we can do in terms of recognizing patterns and using patterns to draw conclusions. Then in 1.2, we're talking about different forms of modeling and estimation. We're talking about things like rounding and how we can make estimates using representations in terms of pie charts, line graphs, and bar graphs, and then a little bit there as well about making models. So for this week, with our first two sections, we're going to have to do a bit of a slow start here. Most of the stuff should be at least somewhat familiar. That's how a good chunk of the things we're going to see in this class are. It's a big group of different topics. Some of them are going to be more familiar with, some of them are going to be less familiar with. We'll see as it goes. Anyway, for our first week, we've got a standard slate of materials. We're going to get used to the fact that this is what we're going to see a lot in any given week, that we're going to have a worksheet due by the end of this week. It's just a set of problems that I have set out for you to help you get used to what you're going to see from the more advanced stuff, as well as getting used to writing your work out, because you're not going to get a ton of practice doing that. Otherwise, it is something I expect from you on the exams. So we have a few problems there that's due by Friday. Then for next week, for these two sections, we have deadlines in my lab for them. These are your online homework assignments that you had to buy the access code for. This is what you paid for to get into this class, is those assignments. Along with in there's a little getting started assignment you can do for extra credit if you want to. It's going to help you get used to the interface. I don't normally talk about extra credit assignments in these things because, for one, there's a whole bunch of them. Two, the deadlines are a little bit funkier. And three, they're extra credit. If you do them, great, good for you. Makes your life a little bit better, makes your life a little bit easier because you've got more breathing room at the end of the semester. But I don't necessarily need to see you do them. So if you do, awesome. If you don't, no worries. But we've got those things in my lab for next week, due next Wednesday. And then on Monday night, we have our first pre-assessment, the pre-assessment for week 2, where the way these pre-assessments work is there are going to be little quizzes in Canvas. You're going to get a question or two in there that are just asking you to, let's see, I want to say this. Think about what you're going to see in the next week, as well as what you might be uncomfortable with so far. So there's a chance for you to ask me some questions if you have questions, as well as get a look ahead to what's coming up next. Normally I'd like people to have had some time to look at what's going to be in there before they come into the pre-assessment, but more realistically, you're probably going to just jump in there, figure out what that stuff is as you're going, and then at the very least, come into the major assignments with a bit more comfort. But anyway, this is our setup for the week. Like I said, expect to see something like this at the beginning of every week, where next what we're going to do is jump in to these sections and start learning a bit of our material.